I was standing in my kitchen in Scottsdale a few months ago, watching the first light hit the red rocks of the McDowell Mountains, and I was staring at my coffee maker like it was a broken piece of office equipment. I was 61 at the time. I remember that specific morning because it was one of those days where the silence in the house felt heavy. It wasn't just that the house was quiet, it was that I felt quiet inside. I'd wake up, look at the man in the mirror, and I didn't see the guy who used to close the biggest contracts in the region. I saw a man who was running out of steam. I saw a man whose internal pilot light had been flickering for years, and that morning, it felt like it had finally gone out. When you've spent your life in sales, you learn that everything is about the pipeline. If the pipeline is full, you're confident. If the pipeline is empty, you start to panic, even if you're good at hiding it. For a long time, I was hiding the fact that my physical pipeline was empty. I'd spent my 50s pretending the changes didn't matter. I told myself that the fatigue, the lack of morning response, and the way I felt disconnected from my own body was just the price of admission for getting older. I'd signed a silent contract with aging that said I had to accept a version of myself that was half strength. But standing there in the kitchen, I realized I was tired of that contract. I didn't want to just get through my 60s. I wanted to live them. I'd seen guys my age retreat into their shells. They stop looking their wives in the eye. They stay at the office longer because the office is the only place they still feel capable. I was doing that too. I'd pull away from Alyssa, not because I didn't love her, but because I was ashamed of the inconsistency. I was ashamed that my body wasn't responding to the signals my head was sending. I'd tried the pills, but they felt like a desperate temporary fix, like putting a band-aid on a burst water main. I wanted to fix the plumbing. I wanted to rebuild the infrastructure from the ground up. Most men I know think that after 60, the factory just shuts down. They think the machinery is rusted beyond repair. But what I discovered, after months of digging into the mechanics of our biology and talking to people who actually understand the male system, is that the machinery is fine. It's just been starved of the right fuel. We're trying to run a high-performance system on the lowest grade materials, and then we wonder why the engine is knocking. I started looking at my morning coffee. For years, it was just a way to survive the first 2 hours of the day. It was a caffeine spike, followed by a mid-morning crash that left me reaching for a donut or another cup just to stay focused. But I learned that your morning cup can be something entirely different. It can be the delivery system for the very things your body needs to reboot its hormone production and its circulation. I'm talking about simple things you probably have in your pantry right now, but when you combine them with your morning routine, they start to act like a maintenance crew for your vitality. The first thing I started adding was cinnamon, and I'm not talking about the sugary stuff you find on a cinnamon roll. I'm talking about real high-grade cinnamon. I learned that there's a difference between what they call cassia and Ceylon. I switched to Ceylon because it's cleaner for the system, but the reason it matters for a man our age is purely mechanical. Think about your blood sugar like the pressure in a hydraulic system. If the pressure is spiking and crashing all day, it's like running sandpaper through your arteries. It creates this low-level inflammation that destroys the tiniest blood vessels in your body, the ones that are responsible for your performance. When your blood sugar is out of whack, your blood essentially turns into a thick syrup. It gums up the works. Cinnamon acts as a regulator. It smooths out those spikes. It helps your body manage that pressure so the blood stays thin and moves easily. I noticed within 2 weeks that my energy was steadier. I wasn't getting that 10 a.m. fog where I felt like I needed a nap. But more importantly, I learned that cinnamon helps your body produce nitric oxide. If you don't know that term, you need to. Nitric oxide is the open signal for your blood vessels. It's the master switch. When you add a little cinnamon to your coffee, you're essentially flipping that switch every single morning. You're telling your vessels to relax and expand. For a man over 60, that expanded flow is the difference between feeling alive and feeling dormant. Then I started adding unsweetened cocoa powder. I'm talking about the dark, bitter stuff. Most of us think of chocolate as a treat, but real cocoa is a powerful tool for the male heart. It's loaded with these compounds called flavonoids. I think of them as the high-performance additives for your blood. They've been shown to improve the way your arteries open up, what the experts call flow-mediated dilation. In plain English, it means your highways are getting wider. When I started stirring a teaspoon of cocoa into my coffee, I noticed a shift in my mood too. It's not just physical. Cocoa contains these natural chemicals that make you feel more engaged, more focused. Half of the battle at our age is mental. If you don't feel like you're in the game, you won't be. Cocoa gets your head in the game while it prepares your body for the response. I'd be sitting there with Alyssa in the evening, and instead of feeling that dull, heavy fatigue, I felt a sense of presence. I felt like I was actually in the room with her, not just a ghost of myself waiting for the day to end. But the real game changer for me was maca powder. I'd never heard of it until I started this reconstruction process. It's a root that grows in the Andes, in conditions that would kill almost any other plant. Because of that, it's packed with minerals and these unique compounds that help your body adapt to stress. I think of maca as the master controller for the hormone factory. It doesn't work like a stimulant. It doesn't hit you all at once. It's a slow build. It works on the master glands that tell your body to produce its own testosterone. After about 3 weeks of adding a teaspoon to my coffee, I felt a level of drive that I hadn't felt since my early 40s. It wasn't a forced, artificial feeling. It was just a return to baseline. I felt like the man I was supposed to be. I felt like the engine was finally being told to fire on all cylinders again. It has this nutty, slightly malted taste that actually makes the coffee better. It felt like I was finally signing a new contract with my body, one that was based on growth instead of decline. Then there's the coconut oil. I know it sounds strange to put oil in your coffee. I thought so too when I first heard about it. But remember what we talked about with the fuel. Testosterone is literally made from fats and cholesterol. If you've been on a low-fat diet for years because you thought it was healthy, you might have been starving your own hormone production. You've been trying to run a factory with no raw materials on the loading dock. When you blend a teaspoon of coconut oil into your coffee, it does two things. First, it provides these medium-chain fats that go straight to your liver for energy. It's like premium fuel that your body can use immediately. Second, the fat slows down the absorption of the caffeine. Instead of that jagged spike and the crash that leaves you feeling depleted, you get a steady, long-burning energy that lasts for hours. I remember the first time I did it. I used one of those little milk frothers to blend it in, and it turned the coffee into this creamy latte. I drank it before heading out for a walk in the foothills. Usually I'd be dragging by the end of that walk, but that day, I felt like I could have gone for another 5 miles. My head was clear, my body felt light, and that hollow feeling in my chest was gone. I was giving my system the building blocks it needed to maintain my hormones, and the system was responding. Finally, I started adding ginger. I've always used ginger for an upset stomach, but I learned it's actually rocket fuel for circulation. It's a powerful anti-inflammatory. If your system is inflamed, your blood vessels are tight, and your testosterone production is suppressed. Ginger goes in and calms that fire. There's a bit of research I found, and I don't usually care for the numbers, but this one stuck with me, that showed a significant increase in testosterone in men who use ginger daily. It protects the very cells that produce the hormone. I think of it as the security team for the factory. It keeps the environment safe so the work can get done. I'll grate a little fresh ginger into the bottom of my mug or use a bit of the powder. It gives the coffee a warm, spicy kick that wakes up your whole system. It tells your body that the shift has started and we aren't messing around today. A lot of men will hear this and they'll think it's too much work. They'll think, Cole, I just want my coffee and I want to get on with it. I understand that. I was that guy. But I want you to think about the cost of doing nothing. What is it costing you to wake up every morning feeling like half a man? What is it costing your relationship with your wife to be a ghost in your own bedroom? What is it costing your confidence to feel like your best days are behind you? The ritual I'm talking about takes maybe 2 minutes longer than your regular coffee, but those 2 minutes are an investment in the next 20 years of your life. I don't use all 5 every single day. I usually rotate them. Some mornings it's cinnamon and cocoa. Other mornings, if I know I have a long day ahead or I'm going to be at the gym, I'll do the coconut oil and the maca. It's about being the CEO of your own health. You look at the day ahead, you look at what your system needs, and you provide the materials. I've seen the change in other men too. I have a friend here in Scottsdale, a guy named Mike, who's 68. He'd given up. He told me, Cole, I'm 68. I'm just waiting for the clock to run out. I told him about the coffee. I told him to just start with the cinnamon and the cocoa. I saw him 3 weeks later at lunch and the gray look was gone from his skin. He looked alert. He looked engaged. He told me his wife had asked him what had changed because he was actually present again. That's the real goal. It's not just about a physical response. It's about the dignity of being a man who is still capable of connection. We live in a world that wants to sell us a decline. They want us to believe that after 50, we should just settle into the recliner and wait for the end. They want us to believe that our vitality is a limited resource that we've already used up. I'm telling you that's a lie. Your vitality is a renewable resource, but you have to be the one to renew it. You have to be the one to flip the switches. I look at Alyssa now, and I don't feel that quiet dread. I don't have to make excuses about a long day at the office. I'm 63 years old, and I feel more like myself than I did at 45. It didn't happen because of a miracle. It happened because I stopped ignoring the infrastructure. I started paying attention to the valves, the highways, and the fuel. I want you to try this. Don't try all 5 at once. That's a mistake I see guys make. They want to fix everything in 24 hours. Start with 1. Start with the cinnamon tomorrow morning. Pay attention to how your energy feels at 2 p.m. Then the next week, add the cocoa. See how your mood shifts. Take the time to listen to your body. It's been trying to talk to you for years, but you've been too busy ignoring the signals. We're at an age where we can't afford to be sloppy with our systems. We don't have the luxury of a 20-year-old's resilience, but we have the wisdom of experience. We know that everything has a cause and an effect. If you want the effect of being a strong, vital, engaged man, you have to provide the cause. You have to be the one to put the right things in the cup. I'll be here in Scottsdale waking up with the sun, making my coffee and doing the work. I'm not saying I figured it all out. I'm still learning. I'm still adjusting the maintenance schedule. But I know one thing for sure. I'm never going back to that man who was staring at the black coffee in the dark, feeling like a failure. I'm moving forward. I hope you'll join me. This isn't just about a drink. It's about a mindset. It's about deciding that you aren't done yet. It's about realizing that the power is still there, waiting for you to turn the lights back on. Start with the cup tomorrow morning. Just one thing. That's the first step in a new contract with yourself, and it's a contract that's actually worth signing. I'll talk to you soon. We have a lot more to cover, and I want you to be there for all of it. Take care of yourself. You're worth the effort. And more importantly, the people who love you deserve the man you're about to become. I remember when my son Ethan was born. I felt this incredible sense of responsibility to be strong for him. Somewhere along the way, I lost that. I thought the strength was just a phase of my life that had passed. But I realize now that the responsibility never went away. I still want to be a man my children can look at and see resilience. I want to be a man Alyssa can rely on. I want to be a man I can respect when I look in the mirror. It all starts with the basics. It starts with the pipes, the valves, and the fuel. Tomorrow morning when you're standing in your kitchen, I want you to think about that. I want you to think about the man you want to be. And then I want you to put the right thing in your coffee. I'll see you in the next one.